As you start to build a name for yourself, you'll start to be compared. And I hate to say it, that as you get compared, you start comparing yourself to those other people too. Hey guys, welcome back. Jose Zavalza, your host for the Making an Impact podcast. And today I'm going to take you back and I'm going to explain to you how I created, how I built my office. For those of you that don't know, for about the last 10 years, I had an office here in Palmdale, California. That office grew from just me, myself, and I to close to 80 agents over the course of about a 7 to 8 year run. But I'm going to tell you how I built it. I'm going to tell you a story that most people don't know. I'm going to tell you right now that I built that office based off of an emotion. That emotion was anger. That emotion was an ego. And I'm going to tell you what happened. But in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to take you back several years and kind of how this came about. If you guys remember, in episode 1, I kind of briefly explained that I had an opportunity to build an office, but I'm going to actually go deeper into how it was built. So number 1, like I said, I built that office out of anger and out of ego. But let me explain what that means. See, I built that office out of anger because for many years, not only in my business career, but in my personal life, I've been compared. And I know that everyone listening to me right now, you've been compared some way, shape, or form. Now imagine Jose Zavalza. Right now, you're looking at a 44-year-old guy. But imagine Jose Zavalza running around a 5, 6, 7-year-old. I was a pudgy little fat kid. And as a pudgy little fat kid, I had friends that were, slender and skinny and ran faster, and I was always compared to them. I was always asked, you're a little fat kid. All these comments start to add up after a while. And if this is you, if you were that little fat kid or little fat girl back in the day, I hope this resonates from you. So from very, very early on, I was compared. Now, take that now into a career. Now, I didn't grow up with a lot of education. Yes, I went to high school. Yes, I got pretty good grades. I went to college for about 6 months. Then I just couldn't afford it. I walked into real estate with absolutely very little education. All I had was the desire to win and to win big. As you start to build a name for yourself, you'll start to be compared. And I hate to say it, that as you get compared, you start comparing yourself to those other people too. Well, this person does this much and this person does that. So you start to lose yourself in that process. And I hope that this is making sense to everybody. You start to lose yourself in that process and you almost start to become someone that you're not. And again, when I had this opportunity to build an office, I wanted it to be the best office. I wanted it to be the most productive office. I wanted it to be the most financially profiting office in my marketplace. And I'm proud to say that it was. But it turned me into someone that I wasn't. It turned me into an angry person. It turned me into a person full of ego. And again, I wasn't being myself. And eventually with time, when you're being someone that you're not, you're going to get burned out. You're going to get stressed out. You're going to get tired. And I'm going to take you guys through this, okay? So one story in particular that I want to share with you guys is that back in around 2018, there were several different locations that kind of made up our Southern California region. And those offices were always competing with each other. Those offices were always competing on how many recruits you got that month, how many listings you got that month, how many sales you guys opened, how many closings you guys did. I mean, it was very, very analytical from different metrics, and you were compared on every single one of them. And you were put to compete with those individuals. And our office, if you look at the marketplace that we're in, which is Palmdale, California, it's not the most luxurious. It's not the most expensive. Hell, it's not the prettiest place to live. And when you start to look at other areas in Southern California, those areas are, much nicer, higher priced, much more luxurious. So even from that standpoint, we were compared. And when I say that we were compared, we were always looked as the underdog. And let's face it, real estate agents right now, most of us don't have that higher education. Most of us didn't go to college. Most of us, most of us don't even have English down packed, and that's okay. But what I want to say is that most of us have built our businesses off of ego because we've always been compared. So as I tell you guys this story, like I said, my office at the time was put up to compete with a much larger location. Much larger in the sense of how many agents were there, much larger in the sense of how much production they did. And we were faced to challenge them 1 month to see if we can beat them. Beat them in number of listings taken, beat them in agent count, all that stuff. And I went to work. I rolled up my sleeves and I told everybody in my office, guys, look, we're not the best. We're not the prettiest. We don't have the most expensive property or price per listings. But what we do have is we do have work ethic. And I put those people to work. And if you're listening to me, if you worked in my office at that time, you know exactly what I meant. You knew that the instructions every single day was who has the next listing, who has the next day, sale, who has the next closing. And it was that constant message. It was that constant comparison, looking at other people's numbers that just drove us every single day. And I'm proud to say that at the end of that month, we won. We won. We beat Goliath. We were David and we beat that Goliath. And I, as I look back, yes, then the next day was another month and we had to do it over again. That month where we beat another office took so much out of us only because we were doing it from the wrong energy. We were doing it for the wrong reasons. We all became people that we weren't. And it started with me. I wasn't the leader that I wanted to be. I wasn't the agent that I wanted to be. It was built out of anger of being compared constantly, anger of not wanting to lose. And all that takes a toll on you. And as you're building your business, I know we're thrown rocks. We are compared left and right. We are compared from as we're little kids growing up. And we're not allowed to be who we are, who we were created. And if that's you, this message is for you. Now, as I look at how my business is now, it's completely changed. I am proud to say that I am who I am. I operate from me being authentic and real and honest, just like I'm being honest with you right now. For those of you that worked with me back then, back from 2015 to 2019, when things were like hardcore, you know the individual that you got. You got a side of me that wasn't the nicest Jose. I wasn't a nice person. I was always competing all the time, always competing, always wanting to be better. As I drive, I was always competing to be the first one. Always, in every area of my life, I competed because I was always compared. And in the areas that I could win, I would win. But that isn't who I am. And if that's you, I want you to, number one, I want you to admit that that is you. Admit to yourself, I am creating something out of anger. I am creating something out of ego because someone or something told me that I couldn't do it because of whatever reason. Admit it. It's okay to be vulnerable to yourself. Admit it. That's step number one, is admit it. Step number two is to accept it. Accept it. Accept the mistakes that you've done. We've all made mistakes. We're human. I've made mistakes. I'll probably continue to make mistakes. But I want to learn from those mistakes, but I'm also accepting the mistakes that I've done. And number three, I want you to understand that we are all created authentically. We were all created from a special place to do special things by someone much higher than us. We are created in His image to do something powerful. And one thing that I did was I always wanted to be and act like someone else that I wasn't. And I wasn't allowing myself to be who I was created to be. And if that's you, stop. Stop. And allow yourself who God created you to be. By admitting it, accepting it, and know that you were created with a special purpose. You just got to find it. Once you find it, you just got to run with it. Guys, again, I don't know if this even resonates with a lot of you guys, but I know it does to many. There's agents that I speak to constantly every day that are always trying to do something big, and I get it. We're all trying to do something big. But for what? For our families? For ourselves? Or is it because we want to be better than that person over there? Because the only competition is yourself. The only person that you should be competing with is the person that you see at on the reflection of the mirror. Just try to be better than what you were the day before. We all have a day one. We all start from zero. I'm proud to say that my ego still needs work. Remember, the ego's there to protect us. Ego has a bad kind of stigma attached to it. When you say, "Oh, you have an ego," it almost, like you're arrogant or something like that. The ego was created to protect you, but having too much of it is not good. Stay humble and stay hungry. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this message resonates with you guys. If you guys want to learn more about my journey, please continue to follow the podcast, like the YouTube, share it with somebody, subscribe to it, comment to it, because it helps me. If there's any particular topic or conversation that you want to have, please share that. I'd love to know. I'd love to have you as a guest here. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. Until the next time, take care.